Good sense. Good sense.
Yeah, definitely good sense.
Feel me. Shit, they say all good things must come to an end.
Sure do.
Shit, so there you have it, man. Good sense too. And if
It's
you
that boy
ask me
Young
what I
Roddy right
stand
here,
for,
man.
who I
Love this
speak
cat.
for, man. Speak for the low class, the people who ain't never had much, the people who ain't never had shit. I see.
Yeah, that's what this podcast about, man. For the
Feel
working
me.
class, for the people in poverty, for the people who ain't got no voice. You know what I'm saying? From the people who come from the hood and they deem us uneducated. You know what I'm saying? That we ain't got no intellect, man. Yeah, let's vibe out to this one. It's my little jam right here, y'all.
You say you don't understand, well it's quite normal.
Hey, Nana.
Your delicate breathing,
Easter Laundry Podcast.
for human eyes. Pretty bird, don't you see that if only you were ordinary, you too.
Hey, baby. Black love. Black magic. Hey, black power, baby.
Pretty bird, fly to your freedom.
That's all we want to do, baby. Just fly, baby. Because we not ordinary, baby. We special.
Pretty bird,
Black extraordinaire. EA podcast. Listen to some game, man. So the Black Lives Matter movement is gaining more attention. It's getting more and more, you know what I'm saying, energy and money invested into it. Finally, 2020 is amounting to something. Because, boy, it started off pretty whack. But for this one, we're going to get into how corporate America can, you know what I'm saying, come out and help the fight against racism. You know what I'm saying, while we got the Black Lives Matter movement, you know what I'm saying, at the highest point that it's ever been, we might as well start addressing this too, you know what I'm saying, because as black folks, we need money and we want to be comfortable. We want to love our jobs. We want to, you know what I'm saying, get paid and live accordingly, you know what I'm saying. So that's what we want to do. I want corporate America to just sit back, listen, and think about since the beginning of time, since this country was built, since entrepreneurs were able to establish themselves and create all these businesses and birth all these business men and women, you know, just think about how as white people, you know what I'm saying, you guys have held power for so long. You know, every business that's ever started, you guys own the airwaves. You know, you're the CEOs, your vice presidents, your managers, your supervisors, your principals, your everything. Think of every position of power. Think of every company, every job there is, and who sits at the highest point of that job description, okay? And it's usually, you know what I'm saying, a white person, okay? And on the flip side of that, if you think about where, you know what I'm saying, people of ethnicities and how far they come from, you know, being blocked of education, not being able to get jobs, not being able to get the adequate pay, and things like that, you know, take that in consideration. We got general labor jobs, we had interim jobs, we had internship jobs. We really couldn't move up the corporate ladder as another white counterpart will be able to do, you know. So you have to look into years of this being implemented, and this has been going on, you know, from the job application to the interview to the hiring process, and everything has been biased, and it has been practically used, and the strength of it is discrimination and people being prejudiced and these microaggressions. Most hiring managers are white. And in this next clip, it kind of talks about how black people have been discriminated, you know what I'm saying, as far as like their names on applications. Once they see like a difficult name or they see like an African American centric name, they instantly don't want to consider the candidate. Our education is getting pushed aside on our resumes. We have to have more experience than our other counterparts just to make up for the shortcomings of how they perceive how we got our degree, or from what accredited school or they feel is accredited, and things like that. And man, the freaking affirmative action little thing, that's a joke. We all know it's a joke, okay? And it's sad that we even had to put that in place just so you guys can hire people of minorities, and then that's still not happening, even though we have this, kind of scaled data saying that we're hiring folks. That's not the case, and we're going to go ahead and prove that in this upcoming clip, basically kind of justifying how African Americans just want to live just like their white counterparts. We have the same ambition. We all want to have a job, a family, live comfortably, and have our kids go to good schools and everything like that. We all share the same thing. And in this clip, he's basically going to go ahead and show some research that he's been doing about discrimination against African Americans in the workplace. So, corporate America, it's time for you guys to look yourselves in the mirror and listen up closely, okay?
This by conducting a study where they sent out job applications, bogus job applications, using a sort of typically white name such as Emily Smith, and the exact same application or similar qualifications with a name such as Lakeisha Washington, or, and they got a far greater response to the Emily Smith types of names.
So yeah, Harvard sent out 5,000 applications. 2,500 had traditionally white names, 2,500 had traditionally African American names. And of these 5,000 applications that they submitted to about 1,000 jobs, both the white and African American pool had equal resumes. So on paper, these should have gotten the same amount of feedback. And they did again find that 1 in every 10 resumes from a white applicant was accepted. 1 in every 15 resumes from an African American applicant was accepted. So that's a 50% disparity.
And something else that was shocking was that if a white applicant had a higher educational background, there was a very good chance that they would get a job. If a black applicant had a higher educational background, there was no difference. There was no change.
Yeah, there was absolutely no change, and they actually found that for an African American applicant to be on the same footing as a white applicant, you had to have 8 additional years of job experience, even when all other things were equal. So this report was really, really disturbing.
Why is this the case? After all this time, what is behind all of this?
Well, UC Berkeley recently commissioned a study where they tried to dig a little deeper and say, why would this be happening? And they specifically focused on who are the hiring managers and do the race of the hiring manager have anything to do here? So what they did was a 30-month study where they looked at a major U.S. corporation. They looked at 100,000 hiring managers, and they found that hiring managers who were white, Asian, or Latino disproportionately hired white applicants and disproportionately did not hire African American applicants. It was only when hiring managers were African American themselves that the pool wound up being closer to national averages.
Very interesting. So I guess the answer there is make sure that more African Americans make it to the managerial position and actually end up hiring.
I mean, the UC Berkeley study tried to distinguish why would this be happening, and they came up with 3 potential causes. One is that you tend to have your own networks that you hire from, and that if you were a white, Asian, or Latino hiring manager, you may not have as many trusted African Americans in your own network. One is that managers may feel that they're going to get more out of an employee that's more like them, so they tend to hire more along racial lines. Or the third is just out-and-out discrimination, that people are not taking people for face value.
All right, so what about affirmative action? What role does that play in all of this? Because, a lot of people think, well, if you are African American or if you are a minority, actually your chances are better at getting a job. And this proves that that's not the case.
Yeah, a lot of people will say that. They'll jump to the defense and say, no, African American candidates are being hired. But if you look at the actual numbers, that's not the case at all. Some companies had minority recruitment programs, but in a bad economy, those have tended to be the first to go. You also have this kind of reverse Obama effect, where a lot of companies are saying, now that we have an African-American president, racial prejudice is on the wane. We no longer have to be aware of this. We no longer have to account for it. So you're actively seeing people hiring less African Americans because they're saying, no, all things are now equal. That's not the case when you look at the numbers.
Absolutely. And does this also apply to Hispanics and Asians, or was it largely just the African American community?
It's the African American community that's the hardest hit here in the numbers, and especially when you're looking at people with college degrees that have equal experience to white counterparts, having a large discrepancy in terms of how they're hired. Now, it's still a better picture for people that do have college degrees.
I was going to say, at this point, what can be done? I mean, what advice would you have for African American students?
Well, first, I mean, you still do want to get a college degree. There shouldn't be a reason to ignore that. So the average annual income of someone without a college degree is $35,000. The average annual income of someone with a college degree is $53,000 a year. When you look at lifetime earnings, the average lifetime earnings without a college degree is 1.2 million. With a college degree is 2.1 million. So right now we have about 14% of African Americans 25 or older have a college degree. 21% of white candidates 21 or older have a college degree.
Right.
So we still want to get those numbers up. We want to kind of achieve parity there, because people over their lifetime, you make a lot more with a college degree, and they say you live longer, you have less risk of obesity, you have less risk of heart disease and hypertension. So getting a college degree is still worth it. It's just, it's become difficult right now.
So let's say you are an African-American recent college graduate. As a strategy towards finding a job, would you recommend maybe targeting companies, as we've just heard, that African-American managers tend to hire more African-American employees? Would you recommend targeting companies with more black managers? Would you recommend erasing any reference to race on your resume? What would you recommend?
What we're seeing are people are targeting companies that do have diversity recruitment programs still in place. If there is some way using LinkedIn or a social network to see the ethnicity of your hiring manager, that does play a role.
Yeah.
Some other things that African-American candidates are doing is they're leaving off of their job application their race. In some cases, we're even seeing that they're using either fake names or their middle names if they have traditionally ethnic-sounding names, and they are finding that that has a real effect. So it's sad, but at least this is pointed out. There's strategies that people can use, and hopefully we can correct this.
Disturbing that this is still going on in this day and age. In this segment, we're going to ask Gordon.
That's crazy, man. Y'all hear the alternatives that he said that African Americans, or minorities, basically need to look into? He said basically we need to start looking into the hiring manager and what their race is, because that might be your chance to get hired, have a fair chance to get in there. So corporate American, that should not be the case, and you need to make sure that that is not the case, because like I said, with this Black Lives Matter movement going on, we're pushing towards black owned businesses and things like that, and I'm pretty sure other minorities are probably going to do Hispanic owned businesses and things. So corporate America, this is a threat towards you if you don't join the fight against racism. And another alternative he said was to not even put your race on the application. Corporate America, we have to get to the point where we can't even put our race because we feel like our applications are not going to be considered. Listen, do something about that, okay? And also, like I said, we're being discriminated against our names, so they're saying try to find some type of Eurocentric name, maybe your middle name, something that's more approachable, and things like that. You have to start thinking how safe and how dangerous our names are. That's pretty crazy. In 2020, that's what we have to do. So corporate America, these are a few ways, and this is some truth that you can go ahead and look at, and maybe in your workplace you might want to get a team together, get HR together, maybe do some evaluations with your employees and try to figure out ways to fight racism in the workplace, because this definitely should not be going on. We work too hard. We're trying to get the best education from the best schools, and we're still not getting put on the same playing field, as you can see. So this has been East Alondra Podcast, man. Trying to tell y'all, corporate America, it's time to wake up. It's time to fight against racism and Black Lives Matter, for social injustice. But we also trying to do this equality instead of seeing all this disparity and inequality around here. So get with your supervisors, get with your managers, send something to the CEO, some petitions. There's all type of ways you can kind of get, like a little mini union going on in your workplace, man, and try to fight for this change all across. So let's just not stop with the protests in the streets. Let's take it to our workplace. But for black people moving forward, like I said, it's about supporting black businesses and all our entrepreneurs that's coming up. Let's go ahead and start seeing a lot of our black folks in the medical industry, as far as, CNAs and all type of things, get our own clinic practices going and all of that, man. It's about that time. So that's just some real game for y'all. East Alondra Podcast, your boy Domo is out. There's some game. Black power, baby. We out on another episode.
Time to rest your eyes now, I guess. You've been running all day. You've been due for some rest. Just ain't no need of straining your brain any longer. It's cool to dream those dreams that made you stronger, kept you fresh and on your toes. Forever each you the highs and lows. day.